For almost 2 years, the AI industry had one date circled on the calendar: August 2nd, 2026. Lawyers were preparing for it. Engineers were rewriting products for it. Some companies believed they would have to redesign entire systems just to keep operating in Europe. And then, 6 days before the deadline, Europe changed the plan. The toughest rules were pushed back by more than a year. A lot of coverage stopped right there. Delay, retreat, nothing to see. That is wrong, and it is the kind of wrong that costs people money. Because on that exact same date, a completely different set of rules switched on, right on schedule. Rules that apply to chatbots, image generators, voice cloning tools, and to almost any business putting AI in front of a customer in Europe. And something else happened that day, which almost nobody reported. For the first time, the regulators got the power to actually fine people. So no, Europe did not back down. It just changed which part of the law arrived first. Let's go through what actually happened. First, the basic idea, because it explains everything that follows. When generative AI arrived, governments faced a problem they had never had before. How do you write rules for something that changes faster than you can pass legislation? The United States mostly left it to the market. China went with tight state oversight. Europe did something different. Instead of regulating companies or regulating specific models, it decided to regulate risk. That is the foundation of the EU AI Act. It does not ask what the technology is. It asks one question: how much damage could this cause if it goes wrong? If the answer is not much, the rules are light. If the answer is that this system could affect someone's job, their loan application, their medical care, or their education, the requirements get serious. And at the top of the pyramid, a small number of uses are simply banned outright. Simple idea, enormous document. And because Europe is one of the largest technology markets on Earth, a company in California or Bangalore or Tokyo can fall under it too. If your AI product reaches users in the European Union, parts of this law can apply to you regardless of where you are based. The law did not land all at once. Europe switched it on in stages. It entered into force in August 2024. The first real obligations arrived in February 2025, when a short list of banned AI practices became illegal, and organizations had to start making sure the people deploying AI actually understood it. In August 2025, rules for general-purpose AI models arrived. The foundation models behind the assistants you use: transparency, documentation, risk management. And then August 2nd, 2026 was supposed to be the big one. High-risk systems, AI screening job applicants, algorithms scoring loan applications, software grading students, biometric systems, the uses where a mistake changes someone's life, risk assessments, human oversight, continuous monitoring, technical documentation, testing, record keeping. That is what got delayed. The instrument that did it is called the Digital Omnibus on AI, Regulation 2026/1744. It was published in the official journal on the 24th of July and came into force on the 27th. 6 days before the deadline, it was changing. The official reason was straightforward. Organizations needed more time. Building a genuine compliance system for high-risk AI takes months, sometimes years, and Europe decided it would rather have real compliance later than paperwork on time. One detail matters here, because a lot of coverage still gets it wrong. The Commission originally proposed tying the delay to whether the technical standards were ready. That conditional mechanism was dropped. The new dates are fixed. If the standards are late, the deadline does not move again. So this is not a cancellation. It is a countdown, and it is already running. Now the part that did not get delayed. Article 50. The transparency rules. And these reach far more products than the high-risk rules ever would have, because they are not limited to high-risk systems at all. The principle is almost embarrassingly simple. If AI is interacting with a person, that person is entitled to know. Think about how often you have dealt with AI without registering it. A support chat that resolves your problem, a voice on the phone before you reach a human, an assistant inside your banking app. Until now, there was no consistent legal expectation that any of them had to say what they were. From August 2nd, there is. There is a sensible exception. If it is already obvious, providers do not have to state it. Nobody needs a banner explaining that ChatGPT is an AI. But when AI is embedded inside a website, a support system, or a phone line where a reasonable person would not realize, that has to be made clear. The same article covers 3 more situations. Emotion recognition and biometric categorization systems have to tell people they are being used. Deepfakes have to be disclosed as artificially generated. An AI-generated text published to inform the public on matters of public interest has to be labeled. None of that is a huge engineering lift, a line of text in an interface, but legally, the ground shifted. Transparency stopped being good design and became a requirement you can be penalized for ignoring. The second transparency requirement is more interesting because most people will never see it. Machine-readable marking. When people hear watermark, they picture a logo stamped across a corner. That is not what this is about. This is about information embedded inside the file itself, metadata in a generated image, cryptographic markers in a video, a signal inside a synthetic audio file that detection software can pick up. Think of it as a fingerprint. To you, the image looks completely normal. To another computer, it carries a story, where it came from, how it was made, whether a model produced it. That matters more every month as generated content becomes harder to tell apart from real footage. Picture a fake news video appearing the week of an election, a synthetic recording of a chief executive announcing a collapse, an AI-generated emergency broadcast spreading across social media at 3 in the morning. If platforms can detect synthetic content automatically, they have a chance of reacting before it reaches millions of people. Is it a complete solution? Number metadata can be stripped. Plenty of open-source tools do not add markers at all. Determined attackers will root around it. Regulators are not claiming this solves deepfakes. They are setting a floor. Responsible AI systems should help identify what they generate, wherever that is technically possible. Here is the change that got almost no coverage, and I think it is the most important one. Before August 2nd, most of these obligations existed on paper, but there was no machinery behind them. The rules were real. The consequences were not. That is what changed. From that date, the European Commission's AI office and the national regulators in every member state gained actual enforcement powers. The power to investigate, to demand technical documentation, to run evaluations on a model, to order corrective action, and to issue fines. The AI office handles general-purpose AI models directly. National authorities handle everything else operating inside their borders. Every member state was required to have designated its authority by that date, and the penalties are not symbolic. For the banned practices, up to 35 million euros or 7% of worldwide annual turnover, whichever is higher. For breaching the transparency obligations we just walked through, up to 15 million euros or 3%. For giving regulators incorrect or misleading information, up to 7.5 million or 1%. For comparison, GDPR tops out at 4%. This law goes higher. So when you read that Europe delayed the AI Act, hold that next to this. The enforcement apparatus went live exactly on schedule, fully armed, pointed at the rules that were not postponed. That is not a retreat. That is a change of order. The biggest misconception about this law is that it only applies to the companies building AI models. It splits responsibility three ways. Providers are the organizations developing AI systems or putting them on the European market. If you build a chatbot, release an image model, or sell a voice platform, that is you. Providers have to make sure the transparency obligations are met before the product ships. Deployers are organizations using AI in their own operations, a bank running an AI assistant, a retailer answering customer questions with it, a hospital scheduling with it. They did not build the model, but they still carry legal duties, including making sure people know when they are talking to a machine, and extra obligations if they are using things like emotion recognition or synthetic media. This is the group that gets caught out. Most businesses deploying AI have not registered that the law reaches them at all. And then there are ordinary users. The Act does not hand you a list of obligations. It hands you expectations, clearer disclosures, labeled content, interfaces that admit what they are. Most people will never read a word of this regulation. They will experience it every day. A quick word for a group growing faster than almost anyone expected. Creators. A few years ago, a professional video needed a camera, a studio, a voice actor, and an editing suite. Today, one person can generate narration, visuals, music, and subtitles. That is genuinely powerful. It also raises a fair question. How should an audience know when something was made or substantially altered by AI? The Act does not ban creators from using AI, not remotely. It targets the situations where someone could reasonably be misled. And honestly, most audiences are not offended by AI being used. What they resent is finding out afterwards. Disclosure costs a creator very little and buys a lot. In a world where almost anything can be generated, trust is one of the few things left that cannot be. 3 dates to put in your calendar. December 2nd, 2026. Generative AI systems that were already on the market before this August get a grace period to implement machine-readable marking. That grace period covers the marking only, not the disclosure duties. The same date brings new prohibitions into force, targeting AI tools built to generate non-consensual intimate imagery and child sexual abuse material. Those sit in the highest penalty tier. December 2nd, 2027. The postponed high-risk obligations begin. Employment, education, creditworthiness, biometrics, critical infrastructure. If you operate in those sectors, preparation does not start in late 2027. It starts now. August 2028. AI built into regulated products like certain medical devices and machinery follows on its own timeline. August 2026 was not the end of this story. It was the start of a long transition. So what do you actually do today? First, find every place a user meets AI in your product. Then ask honestly whether an average person would realize. If not, add a disclosure. It is a small change and it is the one being enforced right now. Second, check your content pipeline. If you generate images, video, or audio, find out whether your tools support machine-readable marking and whether it survives being downloaded and re-uploaded. Third, start documenting. Even if the high-risk rules do not touch you yet, what models you use, what data they see, who is accountable, how decisions get reviewed. Documentation you already have is worth far more than documentation you have to reconstruct under a deadline. And last, treat AI governance as an engineering discipline, not a legal chore. The same way security and privacy stopped being someone else's department. When these tools launched, every conversation was about what AI could do. That conversation is quietly becoming about how it should be built, and who answers when it goes wrong. Europe has taken its position. Powerful systems require real transparency, and now, real consequences. Whether the rest of the world follows is open, but history is suggestive. When a market this size sets a technical standard, products tend to get built to it everywhere, because maintaining one version is cheaper than maintaining two. So, where do you land? Has Europe found the balance between innovation and protection, or has it made it harder for anyone but the giants to build? Tell me in the comments. I read them all. That's Modern Tech Studio. For informative videos like this, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. See you in the next video.